Hey guys, so recently I've been seeing a lot of rather odd opinions posted all over my Facebook profile, and I don't know, maybe it was meant to try to get a rise out of me, or maybe it's just meant to trigger me. And if the end result was to try and get me angry, well, guess what? Mission accomplished, because I'm fucking pissed right now. Some of these opinions on Facebook have quoted The Bye Bye Man as a great horror movie, and I want to kill myself. Like, honestly. So yeah, today in this rather random and completely unplanned video that has no script whatsoever, who am I kidding lah? It's totally scripted, completely scripted, 100%. We are going to be talking about the problem with the Conjuring universe and its impact on modern horror movies today. Now, before you scroll down and type in the comments below about how there has been a lot of good modern horror movies that has been coming out, I would urge you to stop, because I know for a fact that there has been a lot of good modern horror movies. Matter of fact, most of my personal favorite horror movies has been from the modern horror movies era. I said modern horror movies way too many times in that one sentence. However, that catalog of horror movies has been completely suffocated with a lot of terrible, I'm talking completely dog shit movies that has really covered a lot of these better horror films, because these shit movies kind of cover the whole spectrum, leaving the good ones down below, which most people end up not seeing because it slips past their entire radar and they never get the chance to see it. So today, we're talking about one specific universe, one specific franchise that has completely dominated the horror world for the past few years, and what it means for the future of modern horror movies. So with that title, you kind of already know what I am going to be talking about. I am going to be talking about the Conjuring movies, but not the Conjuring movies in particular, because those are really well-made movies by really good filmmakers and a good team behind it. They are actually passionate and actually give a shit about the movies that they want to make. We are not talking about that today. No, today we are talking about the Conjuring spin-off movies that, I don't know, man, they are just completely shit and they keep making it again and again and again. They've made 4 already, and another one is coming out later this week called Annabelle Comes Home. And they better stop, man. I really hope this is the last one. But no, it's not, because according to its Wikipedia page, they are making like The Nun 2 and The Crooked Man, and I don't get it, man. Like, just stop. In my opinion, these movies are the worst of the worst, made for the lowest common denominator who really don't give a shit about horror. They just want to go in there and have a good time and just keep jumping, because the jump scares in the whole movie just make them go like that the whole time throughout the whole movie. And I don't know, maybe like they all have a death wish or something, but I cannot, man. It just pisses me off to see these movies still being made up until today, and people still supporting this kind of crappy movies when there are much better movies out there. Now, there is nothing wrong if you completely enjoy the Conjuring spin-off movies, right? Nothing wrong with you. If you enjoy watching films like that, then yeah, good for you. I really hope that you have a good time watching it, because that's what films are meant to do, right? They are meant to make you have a good time, so you do you. But that being said, however, these movies are not good movies in every term possible. They are just cash grabs, blatant, shameless cash grabs to make more money from the better made Conjuring movies. So I think the Conjuring spin-off films are kind of like the DLC content that you get when buying a video game. You know, if you buy like a good game, there's like free DLCs, but not free, you gotta pay for the DLCs nowadays. It's kind of like that, but the Conjuring movies are like the main game, then the spin-off movies are like the DLCs for it. Kind of makes sense when you think about it that way. In my opinion, the Conjuring spin-off films have no business to be mentioned in the same sentence as the James Wan Conjuring universe, and that's what I thought at first, but then I looked it up, and all of these spin-off movies have been produced by James Wan himself, so maybe he's also part of the problem. So Mr. James Wan, what are you doing, man? Like, come on, wake up, wake up, wake up. It's time to wake up, man. Now, I know that there are also a lot of other horror franchises out there that make pretty terrible movies, but I'd like to talk about the Conjuring universe today, because These movies make a lot of money, like really a lot of money. I think they're printing money every time one of these movies comes out. They make a huge profit with these films. The budget for these spin-off movies are usually somewhere around $10 million and they gross over 300 million. So if you were one of those suit and tie studio executives, you wouldn't mind pumping out money to make these movies because you would turn a huge profit. So for you, as a business, that is really good, because the movie business is in fact a business, and a business wouldn't be a business if it doesn't make money. So it kind of makes sense if you are a studio executive. But if you are a creative person and someone that has great respect for the cinema art form, you would know that these movies are just blatant cash grabs for, let's just call it what it is, right? If you are someone that reads all of my content posted onto the website, first of all, thank you for doing that. But you would also notice that recently I have started this mini series talking about the subgenres of horror. In that series, I go into detail with all of the most exploited genres in horror and how it affects the future of that genre in particular. And as I began writing those articles, right, I began noticing a pattern. That is, when a certain studio comes up with an original idea to make a movie, and that movie does in fact turn a huge profit, making the movie a huge success, other studios also want in on that money, so they would in turn make their own version of it. That's how the Friday the 13th franchise came to be. They saw the studios making good money off of Halloween and they wanted to make something different, and therefore came Friday the 13th. This is not a plug, you don't have to go and read those articles, but if you want to, thank you in advance for that, but you don't have to. This is not a plug at all. So with that pattern, right, with that pattern that I noticed from writing these articles, I noticed something similar that is happening in today's modern horror world. When a studio does something that turns a huge profit and they make good money, other studios would want in on that as well. And since the Conjuring universe is currently one of the most successful horror franchises out there, guess what's going to happen, right? Undoubtedly, other studios are just gonna copy it because they think that they can also make something like that. And thus we had Universal, where they tried to make the Monsterverse, and we all know how well that went. That was such a shame, man. See, studios don't care whether their movie is good or not. That's a pretty bold claim and I cannot back that up in any way, so I'm gonna take that back. Most studios don't care whether or not their film is good or not, right? They care if their movie makes money. Because at the end of the day, again, it's a business, they have to make money. If not, it's not a business. So it kind of makes sense to think of it from that perspective. It makes a lot of sense actually. So the Conjuring spin-off film started with 2014's Annabelle. The film was such a financial success, right? It was the highest grossing horror movie of 2014. So it made a lot of money, turned a lot of hits, and therefore other studios definitely would have seen this film and thought, hey, you know what, this movie made a lot of money, why can't we do something like that? It's going to happen, right? And that's what happened. 2014 also gave us some good, like legitimately good horror movies. We had movies like The Babadook, Oculus, and Sharknado 2, instant classic films. So it wasn't like there were no good horror movies coming out, because these movies were legitimately good movies and they were all still coming out at a pretty steady pace. However, they were fairly slept on. Slept on, if you don't know what that is, it's a rap term where if you don't listen to a certain artist, then eventually he blows up. So that particular project, we call it slept on. So like you tido on top of the thing. It's a rap slang. Another YouTuber called Coterie FX, he already made a video talking about The Nun and how it affects modern horror movies. This video was actually made as a response to that video because I was really inspired by his video. So I definitely recommend that you do check his video out. I'll like put a link down below. So due to the success of Annabelle, we had movies like Robert the Doll, we had The Boy 2016, and also the most recently released on Netflix, the Indonesian horror movie Sabrina. These movies were basically made because they saw Annabelle making very good money and they wanted in on that. Like what I said, like what other studios would do, obviously, right? It's like really inevitable. You can't stop this from happening. Because once something makes money, other people would want to make money as well, and thus comes the circle of the movie business. which is just a vicious cycle, man. You just want it to stop, but you can't because yeah, it sucks. All these movies, they weren't artistic, they weren't original, they had no voice of their own. They just wanted to rip off another successful movie, and that's the whole point of this. And it makes these movies feel very uninspired and very forced in a sense, because you know the point of why these movies were like made, right? They had no new story, they had nothing new to bring to the table at that point, because if they had a story to be told and then in that movie just happens to have a doll in it, then yeah, fine. But it wasn't the case, right? You could obviously see all these movies, they were pretty mediocre or pretty shit movies, they weren't that good. However, Robert the Doll spawned a very successful franchise, spawning over 3 sequels. So from 2015, then there was one in 2016, 17 and 18, there's 4 Robert the Doll movies. So if you want to watch that, yeah, you can enjoy those 4 movies, I guess, if you're into that. Now, 2017's The Nun also had a similar effect, with a lot of movies being made just to ride on the coattails of the success that was The Nun. It was a completely shit movie, I didn't like it at all, but it made money once again, and money has been like the primary objective for a lot of these movies now. I think you already get the gist of it, right? And that's exactly it. And it's really saddening to hear that, because it's as if studios nowadays don't really give a shit on the quality of the films anymore. They only want to make money, and I don't know, man, that can really go south very fast if they're not careful with this, which means we'll just keep on getting a lot of trashy movies, but they make money, so I guess it's all good. Now, I'm not blaming the filmmakers, right? Because most of the filmmakers that actually work on the Conjuring spin-off films, they are mostly first-time filmmakers, so they are freshly coming in, and this is the first film that they are directing. And I think this might be James Wan's plan to like try and help new up-and-coming filmmakers by actually giving them a platform that they can leap off of. So in that sense, that is good, right? That is great. I like it when other filmmakers help new and upcoming talent by giving them some sort of base where they could later perfect that craft into other movies. So this is awesome. If that is the case, then great, right? The problem comes when these movies are lazily written with no effort, no creativity, lack of originality. These movies just seem like very uninspired, right? It's like someone put a gun behind the writer's head and told him to write a movie, and he wrote the first draft, and this was the draft that was made into an actual movie with no rewrites, no thought given to the film. It's just very rushed and very bland, basically. Plus, I looked it up, and all of the Conjuring spin-off films is written by the same guy. This guy, Gary Doberman. No, that's his actual name. His name is Gary Doberman. Looking at his IMDb profile, Gary Doberman has been credited as the writer for all of the Conjuring spin-off movies except The Curse of La Llorona that came out earlier this year. I think it was in April if I'm not mistaken. Because in that movie, he leveled up and was credited as the producer for that film. So yeah, good for him, I guess. What I find interesting though is that Gary is also one of the writers for 2017's It. And I really loved that movie, right? That movie was one of the best horror movies to have come out in the past few years. It was really great, and I'm looking forward to It Chapter 2. And It Chapter 2 is this time solely written by Gary Doberman. So now he's the only writer without the other 2 writers. So I don't know how that's gonna go. Oh my god, imagine the horror. So It Chapter 1 was also written by 2 other writers, Cary Fukunaga and Chase Palmer. Which sounds like the name of a superhero, man. It's really cool. Like, these people are badass names, man. So if Gary's filmography isn't the greatest, why would he still be stuck in the Conjuring universe and still been given writing jobs to do as a writer in this franchise? Honestly, I have no actual answer for that. I just have like theories, so these are my theories as to why he's still stuck within the Conjuring universe. My guess is that maybe Gary has like a contract with Warner so that he can write all of the Conjuring spin-off films, because in the upcoming Annabelle Comes Home, he is now not only the writer, but this time he's also directing it. So this is his first directorial debut with Annabelle Comes Home that drops on Thursday or Friday. One of those days, I'm not really sure when it comes out. And good for him, I guess. I don't want to rain on someone else's parade, right? I'm always hoping for the very best for all these filmmakers, because these are people who get to make movies for a living, which is where I intend to get to at some point in my life. But to do that as your main job is in itself a very exciting place to be in, right? If I could only make movies for the rest of my life, I would absolutely love that. And these people have the full-on opportunity to do that, and then they still make movies like this, and that's what I don't get. And it really it kind of really messes with my head a lot when you think about that. I think about this a lot actually. Like, you guys can make any movie, you guys are in Hollywood. This is where someone like me would really aspire to get to at some point in my life, and you are already there. So you have the freedom to do anything, and then you make movies like this. Yeah, it's pretty disappointing, very disappointing actually. Knowingly or not, what the Conjuring movies are doing to modern horror is troubling, because they tell other studios that these are the only type of horror movies that they have to make to be successful, as well as the only type of scares a movie should be producing in order to be scary. And what is scary in terms of the Conjuring spin-offs is loud noises and jump scares, which is not really scary at all. The original movies, what they had, they were well thought out, well scripted, well paced, technical movies, right, that actually tried their best to tell the perfect story while still having some scares thrown in there to become a horror movie. But at its core, the Conjuring films are about family, they are about love, they are about sticking together. The scares are just a part of that movie and not the main point of the Conjuring films. You don't watch a Conjuring movie because it's scary, you watch it because of the characters. You get so invested in them. They are well written and they are not forgettable characters, unlike every other character in the Annabelle movies and like the Nun movies. Like, can you even remember the names of the characters from those movies? I doubt so, because they are very forgettable, because you don't care in them, because you are not completely invested in those characters, as the movie doesn't really make you care for them like they do with the original Conjuring movies, where you do in fact empathize with these characters as the movie progresses. That's what makes them so enjoyable to watch. It's in the characters. Good horror films are always based around good characters. Yes, the Conjuring movies did have jump scares, and yes, there were an excessive amount of scares in some of those movies that can be greatly reduced because they weren't really necessary to be in that film. However, what those movies had that the Conjuring spin-off lacked is that it had a final payoff. These Conjuring spin-off movies, they don't have a final payoff at all. James Wan is known for crafting beautiful stories with horror elements in them, but still prioritizing the story and not the horror elements. It was his job to first deliver a good story, and then the horror comes in second. It's not the main point to that movie. The Conjuring spin-offs, on the other hand, they are entirely based on the scares. The whole movie is based around one scare, an idea that maybe the writer had when he was drafting the main script for this film. It's as if this writer, he was just sitting down one day and then he's like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if this happened in a movie? And so with that small little idea, he wrote an entire 120-page script around it. Imagine how bad would that movie be. Exactly. And that's how these Conjuring spin-offs feel. They don't feel like a fully fleshed out movie. It felt like several scenes that were just inserted to form a 90-minute runtime, where it's just scare after scare after scare with no real plot connecting point A to point B. That's bad. The beings or scary entities that are present in a film, it's meant to scare the main characters in that film and not the audience, and that's so important to know. because we as the audience, we are just along for the ride, and we know that this being or creature or demon or whatever it is supposed to terrorize the family or person in that film. We are just seeing it, and because we are human, that image of that creature sticks with us, and that's where we have nightmares and stuff. And if a movie is done right, then that sticks with us as we go back home, because remember that clap scene in the Conjuring that really stuck with you? Like, it stuck with me up until now. Even now when I'm in this room, it's pretty familiar to that place as well. So maybe, I don't know, some hand might come up and just clap and I might die here, I don't know. But see, that's that fear of the unknown, right? That's what makes a good horror movie. Do you remember the last time when you watched a horror movie and you went back home and you had to sleep with the lights on? That is what horror movies are supposed to do. Watching these Conjuring spin-off movies, I can go back home and sleep soundly, because by the time I am back home, I have completely forgotten like 75% of the entire movie, because it doesn't stick with you, right? Up until today, I can still like recall 90% of the Conjuring films scene by scene, because I know exactly what those movies are about, because you care for them and the movie makes you actually care for the entire film. These movies are just so effortless and lazy, and it looks like they were very, very uninspired. That's why it doesn't stick with you, and that can be a huge problem. Here's why. The problem occurs when other studios look at these Conjuring spin-off films and see that they are making money, right? And they would think that this is what makes a good horror movie, and they would keep making movies similar to the Conjuring spin-off films, because it's very cheaply made and it turns a huge profit, which is a win-win for the main studios everywhere. And that's what they are going to do. And this can be a problem, because that means in the future, this is the only type of horror this is the only type of horror that we as an audience are gonna get. And because we keep on supporting these movies by giving them our money, and studios respond to money, they keep making the same stuff again and again and again and again. And so if we stop supporting these movies, then maybe they would stop making them, but at this point it's already too late, because the damage has been done, right? So I don't know, man. I'm just very, very saddened by this, because I know for a fact that there are a lot of other filmmakers out there who make legitimately good horrors, but those films will never get the same amount of recognition or support, because they are not backed by a major studio. Because a lot of these horror movies, they are backed by a major studio, and these studios have a lot of money with them, which allows them to market these films and put them on the forefront of the mass audience. And that are the only horror movies that a lot of us see, because these studios, they have eyes on them, right? They can basically control the media, and that's what they do. So that's why we have films like Slender Man, Truth or Dare, The Bye Bye Man. My god, The Bye Bye Man, shit movie. Like, all these films, they are bad, but they make money because they are backed up by a major studio. And these legitimately good movies, they don't get that same support, because most of the times these films are like either independently produced, or they are backed by a minor studio who don't have that money to do the marketing to push this movie to be up at the forefront. That is where it just like breaks me inside, because imagine the effort that these people put in, right? Movies like The Babadook, Hereditary, It Follows. Like, these films are like really good movies, but it didn't get that amount of recognition as it would have had if it were made by, say, the same studios that made Slender Man or Truth or Dare or something like that, right? Imagine if those studios produce a movie like It Follows or The Babadook. Imagine the support and the mass appeal that it would have had if it were made by a bigger studio. And yeah, it's just a sad truth, man. It sucks. It honestly, it really, really sucks. So yeah, basically that's why I feel the Conjuring universe is a problem to modern horror movies. And that has been my 2 cents on it. What did you guys think about it? Do you guys agree with my points? Do you not agree? Do you have your own opinions on it? Whatever it is, just leave them below. Let me know, and I will definitely read them, and we can have a little chat. Also, this is a brand new format of video. I don't know what to call this segment yet. So currently it's untitled, but maybe in the future it will have a title, and this segment will be released every Wednesday at 6 p.m. So which means in 1 week now on our YouTube channel we'll have 3 videos. Mondays are for the podcast, Wednesday is this, and Fridays will be our regular Slateness show. So yeah, be sure to like this video. I put a lot of effort in this to clean up this entire store to make this set. So I would really appreciate it if you could like this as well as subscribe and share this out with your friends if you really agree with some of the points made in this video. Until then, I'll see you guys on Friday where we will have our review for Annabelle Comes Home. I really hope that it's good. I don't know. I have very low expectations, but we'll see how it goes. And guys, always remember that you're never alone when watching a horror movie, and I'll see you on Friday.